Hi everybody, it's Terry. Welcome back to the workshop. The airplane that I want to show you today is the E-flite Night Radian FT. And this airplane probably looks very familiar to a lot of you because it is a derivative of the Park Zone Radian, which was a popular model from just a few years back. And that airplane was popular for some very good reasons. First of all, with just rudder, elevator, and throttle control, it was a simple airplane that didn't need any complex or expensive equipment to operate, so it was useful for modelers of pretty much all skill levels. Also, with a molded foam airframe, the Radian was a very robust model that was difficult to damage. But best of all, the Radian was a superb flyer, and that was true whether you were up high looking for thermals or down on the deck doing basic aerobatics. The good bit of news here is that this new version of the Radian retains all of those qualities that made the original airplane so popular. So if you were concerned that the engineers had gone off and fixed things that weren't broken, that is not the case here. As I mentioned, the Night Radian uses a molded foam airframe, and it has a wingspan of 2 meters, which is just a little over 78 inches, and the wing separates into right and left panels for removal. E-flite offers this model in 2 versions. There's the plug and play and the bind and fly. Now, both of those versions come with a brushless 480 size motor with a folding propeller. There's also an E-flite 30 amp speed control and 2 mini servos that drive the rudder and elevator. The plug and play version requires that you add a receiver and transmitter of 4 or more channels. The bind and fly that I have here includes a Spectrum AR636A receiver, so you only need to add a Spectrum compatible transmitter of 5 or more channels plus the 3-cell flight battery. And I'm using Spectrum's IX12 transmitter with this model. The most significant difference between the Night Radian FT and the original Radian is a little bit difficult to see in this lighting. So, as the name suggests, and as you can now see, the Night Radian is equipped with onboard lights that allow you to see and fly this model at night. And what's truly unique about this system is that these are multicolor LEDs. There's also an onboard processor that commands the lights through different color sequences. A series of buttons on board allows you to choose the color sequence that you want at any given time. And I'll cycle through a few different patterns here now. Another button allows you to choose the speed that the lights cycle through. With these features, the Night Radian can create a really brilliant spectacle in the sky. Now, let's turn the lights back on for a minute. The lighting system is powered through the balance plug of the flight battery. And in stock form, some of the lighting system components are kind of free-floating in the radio bay, and that felt very disorganized to me, so I took a little time to cinch down wires and glue some of the lighting components to the sides of the radio bay, and that helped out a lot. Now, while I'm in this area, I want to point out that the manual suggests using a 1350 milliamp hour 3-cell LiPo battery to power this model, but when I tried that, the Night Radian was very tail-heavy. So I switched to a heavier 2200 milliamp hour battery, and that helped, but I still had to add 1.5 ounces of lead to the nose to make the model balance where the manual specifies. Now, with that being said, I know that some Radian flyers like to fly their models with the CG a little bit behind what the manual says. So I think I'm going to be removing some of these weights gradually to move the center of gravity back and see how I like it. Now let's talk a little bit about how the Night Radian flies. It has a big wing and a lot of power, so it can climb very quickly. If soaring is your thing, you can get up to altitude in a hurry and then shut down the motor and start looking for thermals. The Night Radian also makes a pretty good sport plane. It has big control surfaces with good authority throughout the model's speed range. So if you like aerobatics, it can do a few simple things like loops and stall turns, and even a little bit of inverted flight. But overall, the model is very forgiving and relaxing and easy to fly. Now recall that this is the bind and fly version of the Night Radian, which includes the Spectrum AR636A receiver. And this receiver includes AS3X stabilization, and that helps damp out any jerky movements from rough air. This receiver also has Safe Select stabilization, and when you engage Safe Select, it introduces pitch and bank limits on the model, and also it gives you stealth leveling when you release the sticks. Now, experienced pilots probably won't see much difference when they engage Safe because the Night Radian already has a lot of aerodynamic stability built in. I think the best use for Safe on this model is if you're going to train new pilots how to fly. Now, if you're concerned about safe, you can set up the model with safe completely disengaged. You can also configure it to a 2-position switch on your transmitter to engage or disengage safe in flight. Flying the Night Radian at night is a really cool experience. The lights are very visible in just about every orientation. The only blind spot I've noticed is when the model is coming directly at you. Now, I have several other night flyers, but this is the only one that includes the multicolor sequencing lights, and I can tell you that that feature really enhances the experience of flying in the dark. Don't be surprised if you attract a lot of curious onlookers when you fly this thing. With the box stock Radian, you must use the onboard buttons to choose the color sequence and the sequence speed before you take off. If you want to make any changes, you have to land and use those manual buttons again for your new selections. This concludes my overview of the E-flite Night Radian FT. I'll say goodbye with a little bit more flight footage. I also want to encourage you to read the written review in Model Aviation Magazine. Thanks for watching.